Lance Hall here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Happy to welcome Sam Spade back to the program, lead vocalist, bass player for the Midnight Devils. How you doing, Sam?
Hey, Lance, what's going on? I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. No complaints at
Awesome.
all.
Good to hear.
You're getting ready to go out on tour, the Winter Wonder Glam tour.
Yeah, we're breaking out of this cold weather here in the Midwest. We're headed to the East Coast for 2 weeks. We'll be sporting Enough's Enough on our way down to Rock Island to the Key West big festival down there. So we're doing North Carolina, South Carolina, and a couple dates through Florida.
I'll tell you, from the sounds of it, you're getting out of there just in time. I was watching the weather today, and the Midwest supposed to get hammered like Thursday.
Oh, then perfect. That's beautiful news.
All right.
We'll be living it up on the beach somewhere.
Absolutely. Speaking of beautiful news, of course, the album came out last July. Never Beg for It, your sophomore album, on Pavement Music, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Produced by Chips Enough. So you're going out with Enough's Enough. One thing I got to ask you right about, because this blew my mind. I got a lot of questions for you, but I read while you were recording this album, you're hanging out with Chip, and in walks Donnie, and you guys got to hang.
Yeah, that was one of the coolest things ever. We kind of set out to do this record. It was right when COVID kind of broke out. We were out on tour with the Choir Boys when COVID hit, shut everything down. And we thought, oh man, this is the perfect time to go do this record. So we went to Blue Island to Chip's house and laid all the tracks down. When it came time to do the vocals, I went from Nebraska to Blue Island by myself, drove all the way up there. And I was nervous, going in, it's just you and Chip hanging out. Now I'm nervous, a lot of pressure's on to do these tracks really well because, he's a legend, man. And having him produce the record it's a little pressure. And so we're cutting the track for the first single for Highway 69. And I'm sitting there and I just had finished doing the song and there was a knock on the door. And I was like, whoa, who could it be at Chip's house? And in walks Donnie and he introduced himself to me. And I was like, I was just completely blown away, starstruck, and I was like, don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything ridiculous. And he goes, oh, play the tracks, bro. I want to hear them. And he actually really enjoyed the tracks and I thought it was cool. And I was just like, man, I got to tell all my friends about this. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Donnie and Chip in the same room. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Fly High Michelle is probably one of like my top 10 favorite songs ever,
I absolutely agree with you. And being able to see that every night, I tell everybody, like, I never miss their set. I never miss their show. I'm always standing either in the front or on the side of the stage every night I watch them play just because it's that good. I'm such a fan too.
Yeah. They've been around forever and they've seen it all and done it all, a lot to learn from, a lot to absorb.
And that's the thing that really what I take away from this is that these guys kind of paved the way and they've kind of taken us under their wing. And what we have to learn from them, it's like an unspoken thing. You just kind of watch and you see how they operate and you apply that to the Midnight Devils, to what we're doing, because they're such a successful band, because they've been doing it for so long. Any little chunk of wisdom that we can gather, we take it and run with it.
Yeah. What do you think is one thing that you never really, you've been in bands, you've done stuff for a while. What's one thing that never really crossed your mind that all of a sudden you saw them do or not do, and you said, holy shit, why didn't I do that? Or why did I do that? Can you think of like one really big thing that you've taken away from them?
I mean, a lot of what we did in Europe while we were out on the European tour, we had never been overseas. So this was really our first time. So everything that we were doing, we kind of picked up from them. So the way you handle yourself, what you eat, what you, where you stay, how you talk to people, a lot of that came from just watching and learning and absorbing from Enough's Enough. So we'd do the show and a lot like in the States, Chip and I would hang out quite a bit. And then after the shows, we would always go out or not go out, but we would hang out in the hotels. We would do whatever. Chip was like this guy he's never like one to just sit in a hotel room and hang out and watch TV. He's always on the go, always has to do something, always feels like, we shouldn't be bored. We're on tour. We're a rock band. We should be out having fun, experiencing the culture and the people. And so that's one thing that I always love about him. And I almost have trouble keeping up with him. You know, there's nights I'm like just tired, and he's like, "Let's go out, bro." And I'm like, "Man, how does he keep going?" I never see the guy sleep.
Wow, that's cool. Very cool. So of course you guys signed up with Pavement for this album. Good experience with them. A guy named Tim that you get along with really well from Pavement.
Yeah, Tim has been incredible. We didn't know. I mean, much like any other band coming up, navigating the tricky waters of a record label, the business side is always that's always the downfall and the worst part. And when we set out to do this record, we kind of looked at a couple labels. You kind of, you want to be on a label. It's the logical step. I mean, and we talked to like Frontiers. Frontiers is the biggest label in our genre. Turned us down, and they're like, "Oh, you guys are too glam. You're too wild." Same with another label out of Australia. And I was like, "Man, nobody's gonna pick us up. We're too much for a label to kind of wrap their minds around." And Tim at Pavement was like, he was the first one to go, "I get it. I completely understand what you guys are doing. It's punk rock, it's glam, it's different, it's exciting. Let's run with this and let's keep going." And it gave me hope that, hey man, we actually might have a shot with somebody that can do something for us and not just take us for our money. So Tim was great. Everything we've done, they've been supported us 100%, and they push all of our stuff. They just did a big article in Revolver magazine, which was incredible, like this huge national magazine. So big props to Pavement for being kind of a musician's record label.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. And that's, from the time you probably first picked up a microphone or first picked up a guitar or something, you dream of going to a store and flipping open a magazine, in addition to touring and all that stuff. But to see, it's like the scene in The Jerk where Steve Martin gets the phone book and his name is in the phone. It's like my name in print.
Yeah.
So
it was cool. When we did it, we walked into the store, and there's all these people in there. Nobody knows, we're just in Nebraska hanging out. And we walk into the store and open up the magazine, and I'm showing the guy that's looking at hunting magazines. I'm like, "I know you don't know me, dude, but this is my band right here." We're telling the lady behind the cash register. She's taking pictures. It was a whole scene right in the middle of the bookstore right there. But it was so cool, and I was so excited that everybody else kind of got excited around me.
That is awesome. Cover art, very cool for this album. Rico out in Omaha, 1119 Productions did that?
Yeah, Rico he's done a lot of stuff for us. A lot of the album artwork. So from the first and the second record, he was the guy that kind of did that. And when we started with this record, we had the song Sound of Domination already like locked in. We had the title and everything. And we didn't necessarily want to title the album that, but that was the information I gave to Rico to make the album artwork. And that's exactly what he came out with. We didn't have any revisions. That was it. And once I saw it, I was like, it's perfect. It's kind of it's everything that we wanted in an album art. It kind of had the colors. The devil was in it. There was some mysterious boots, and it invokes so many questions and so many relatable situations.
Very cool. And then Eric Loud from Loudwork Studios in Chicago did the booklet, which of course is part of the whole thing. It's hard to get that vinyl experience anymore, but to open up a booklet too is just as cool,
Yeah, he did such a great job, and I really think that doing album artwork and stuff like that is a lost art, and that not a lot of younger bands are really going for it. I'm talking to a buddy of mine that's putting a record out soon, and I'm like, dude, you got to do a CD. People want to have this physical copy in their hands. They want to be able to buy it when they see you. They want to act impulsively and do this. And it's kind of the same with the CD. We got our first vinyl is going to be coming out in February. Actually, we're doing a 12-inch single, a 12-inch 2-song single with an etched back, and it'll be our first vinyl, limited to 300 copies. And I think it's going to be the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Vinyl's, been making a comeback now for years, and it's staying strong. So that's gotta be cool,
And just to say, like, we've done so much. We've accomplished a lot of our goals, playing at the Whiskey Go-Go, playing in Europe.
Yeah.
And I think vinyl, having your music on vinyl was another one of those goals you have as a kid. Like, you want your songs on record.
Particularly for like your European audience too. They're just rabid for that stuff,
Yeah. And that was the big difference of us going to Europe, us being overseas. was our style of music, while it's cool in the United States, overseas they took it to a whole nother level, and it was appreciated so much more than it was here in the US. And then, not a dig on the US, it's just the way it is. And you know, people would come out with their battle vests on, all these long-haired maniacs coming out to party, and it was just like, it was over the top of what I ever expected it to be.
And I hear that from a ton of artists that I've talked to, and we've talked about it. Yeah, and it's not a knock on the US. It's got to be just a culture thing, you know.
I think so.
You know, definitely.
It's ingrained in them more, which is weird because, you know, in the USA, that's where rock and roll started. It's where it originated, but it's it's another life form over in Europe.
Definitely. Before I jump into the album, I made some notes on a few of the songs. I understand you wrote these songs with Chris in his basement right by the cat boxes, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
What an essence, you know.
A little rubbed off on the record.
Yeah, definitely. I got to tell you, and listening to this album, and I always say this to my ear because everybody, you know, has a different approach to music. Everyone has a different background to music, and I have total respect for everybody. And I was looking at your influence. You know, you had, you know, your vintage Kiss, your Alice Cooper, your Ramones, and stuff like that. To me, my ear, this album had a vintage, like 70s gritty type of Ramones with a dash of Sweet in there.
Yeah,
you know, for absolutely. The glam. You know, it was a vintage sounding album to me. I really liked it. It took me back to the day, you know.
Yeah, and with this album in particular, we knew coming out, the success of the first record was really it went good. You know, everything went great with that record, but there's a lot of stuff that we would have changed. A lot of stuff that I look back now and I go, wow, it was the learning curve. And so with this one, we thought, man, we really got to lay it all on the line here. Big studio, big producer, big engineering, mixing and mastering. And we really spent the money to do it right. And I didn't realize how much, you know, doing it right, how much it actually cost. But I feel it was completely worth every dollar. The way sonically what these guys did, what they brought to these songs, I just was, you know, we were listening to like the playbacks, and then they would start sending us tracks. And we work at this club. I work at this club, and late at night we'd play the tracks, like the pre-mixed tracks over the PA, super loud, right? Just to kind of get that feeling. I'll never forget, Jimmy and I would just sit in there for hours, just listening, going over and over the tracks. And I was like, man, this sounds so good. From taking it from the basement and then putting it into the studio and having it mixed by Chris Steinmetz, who mixed a Kiss record. You know, he mixed Kiss Revenge. He gave us that sound. But having Chip as the producer really brought in, and I didn't even know it was possible, it gave it that Chicago power pop sound. And I think that influence of where you live, especially in the United States, kind of influences directly the sound of the record.
Right. Definitely. Like you mentioned that whole kaleidoscope of stuff you're going for. I think you got it all in Sound of Domination. You got this big track that opens up. You got the melodic haze in there.
Yeah.
To me, the kick-ass opener.
Yeah. That one came about really fast. Sniper had the riff, and I laid the kind of the melody and the vocals around it. And that was, we knew immediately, that's one of the power tracks on the record. We got to have that as one of the first 3 songs on the record. And then it landed as the opening one. And we're like, okay, cool. Well, let's land this, or let's put this as the opening song in our set as well. And so it really kicks off the record, the set, and it sets the tone for what is to come next.
Absolutely. Track 2, Stay in Your Lane. My note here says kind of punky. This is where I heard some kind of like a little bit of a punk sound to it, you know?
Yeah.
To my ear, you know?
Yeah, I really think that Jimmy and I grew up playing in punk rock bands. It's where we started touring, you know, in a van with our buddies, with no money, nowhere to sleep. And I really think that is a lost art, and not even an art, it's just kind of a lost cultural thing of touring with your friends in this band, not really knowing what's going on, where you're going to be playing next. It's this whole attitude that we just did it when we were young. We didn't even think about it. You know, we're 18, 19, 20, traveling around the country in a van. Our parents didn't know. And I think that I want to make sure that that's captured in every song, and that energy and that rawness, that real rock and roll feeling still comes through with the Midnight Devils. We can be a glam band, we can be a metal band or whatever, but we grew up as punk rockers, and I think that has to be represented in everything we put out, and that energy is defining to us.
Cool, very cool. Highway 69. I love the video for this song. Is this Liv Ulrichs from out in Nebraska?
Yeah,
got on this one.
Yeah, Liv did the artwork, and I wrote the script for it, and we sent everything to our director, our music video director, Aaron. Aaron Gum was the guy that animated it all. We didn't have really time to shoot a proper music video, so I thought, how can we get around this? Highway 69 had been such a big hit for us. Like, it was kind of our first hit, really, if you can call it that. It came out of the gate. Pavement was pushing it. We got all these streams on it. We've been playing it live. People are, requesting the song. And I thought, what could we do to kind of build an even more beautiful image around this song and to kind of push the story of the Midnight Devils? And I really think that with this song, we transition from guys to girls in the music video, right? And so it kind of bridges that gap and says, oh, we can really do whatever we want to. The world is open, and artistically, we aren't limited to anything. And I think that's the coolest thing. The number one thing with the Midnight Devils is that freedom, and that freedom of expression from us and from our fans.
Give me a little background on the song. What was the song based on?
The song was based on, I always tell everybody this is the story that I remember. The other guys have different memories of it, but we were driving from Corpus Christi, Texas to Oklahoma City. I think we were on tour with the Choir Boys, and we've just done a show, so we were completely covered in makeup. And we were driving late at night through Texas, and we got pulled over. And I think we were driving on the Highway 69 right down there. We got pulled over by the state trooper, and I'm like, this is it, man. We're going down. A bus full of glam rockers pulled over at 2 a.m. in Texas. There's no way we're getting out of this. And luckily the cop came up and he talked to us, and he was like, oh, just keep her on the road, keep her steady, and let us go. And I was like, man, we narrowly avoided, what could have been a catastrophe. But so I thought, oh, that's just brilliant idea for a song, or brilliant inspiration for a song.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Love it. Love it.
The Texas State Trooper.
Squeeze Me Dry. Of course, I love the spoken word. There's a little bit of a DJ interlude here.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's really a Van Halen inspired song. And Chris Heinlein, Sniper, wrote the lyrics for that song, wrote the music for it. And what we did, we had recorded that song with our other band, and we didn't think it was done right. So we really went back in and put in a new melody to it and reworked that little break. And the break is actually, kind of influenced by what actually happened and stuff that was going on during the recording of that record. And a lot of the stuff, even the name of the album, Never Beg for It, we always bounce stuff off Chip and ask Chip for advice, whether it's music related or, in our real lives. And that was the thing that Chip said with especially with the title. He goes, bro, you got to tell this chick, or he didn't say tell this chick, but he goes, you got to let him know that you're never going to beg for it. He's like, you're in a rock and roll band, you're signed to a record label, we're going on tour, you never beg for it. Tell him, okay, we'll see you in a few days or something. He always just had this brilliant advice, and he said, never beg for it. And I thought, oh, that's the title of the album right there.
Yeah, I agree. Very cool. Crank Down. Now here you get like some TV sounds, you hear a little bit of Price is Right in here and stuff. This immediately connected with me with like sort of like a Pink Floyd song, how they always interluded that stuff in there.
Chip actually added all that stuff in. We didn't even know till we were hearing the finished tracks, and he was the one that brought in the sound effects and the noises. And that was a song, another kind of punk rock inspired song where I really took the lyrical inspiration of, say, AC/DC. I thought AC/DC were the greatest at writing lyrics about something. You knew exactly what they were writing about, but they wrote it in such a way that they didn't come out and say it. it's that tongue-in-cheek kind of vibe, you know,
Yeah.
where anybody, if you're listening, everybody takes it a different way, but we all know exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah. Bon Scott was brilliant with that stuff.
So good at it. And
Yeah.
I think that's a thing that bands don't do anymore, especially lyricists. And Steel Panther will just come out and say exactly what they're talking about. You know, you know exactly what Steel Panther's writing about. Where I thought AC/DC, they hit it more and made it more discreet almost.
Track 6, White Line Fever, when I saw that title, immediately took me back to a movie I saw back in the 70s about a trucker. Jan Michael Vincent was in it. Do you know the movie at all?
I don't.
You know, he played this trucker who went up against this, like, I guess nowadays you would call it like a union maybe, or a cartel or something, and he tried to break it, and all kinds of, and it was set in the Midwest. I want to say like in New Mexico maybe or something. Pretty badass flick. You should watch it. I think you'd like it if you could find it.
I will check it out.
You know, but obviously about being on the road.
Yeah, that song is it isn't actually about, it's I wrote that, like I said, I've been working in a club for a long time, and in the club, the world that revolves around working at a club, you get to know people, like say a bar, or a strip club, whatever it is. You get to know people, and you get to know their ups and downs, and you lose friends because of certain activities, you know. And it sometimes bothers me, like, that people get caught up in all this stuff and get caught up in bad things, and life doesn't always go the way you want it to. And I thought, man, you know, that's kind of the way it is, and all you can really do is keep going and keep pushing yourself. You can't get caught up in what's going on around you. The people that are kind of going down, sinking with the ship, I'm the other way. I'm rising above, and I'm gonna push this band, and I'm not gonna get sucked into the trappings of going down the wrong path. And I really think we've been talking about this quite a bit, but even in your personal life, we're always pushing for something, for lack of a better term, something bigger, something better. And whether it's in your career or in your personal life, I really think you need to find the goodness and find that beautiful spot and keep pushing and never rest.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Total agreement. Glitter Connection. This is a song about the fans.
Yes, 100%. I'm glad that you noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with that song, we didn't want to write with the Midnight Devils. It's very strange. You don't want to come out with a ballad. We're a party rock band, and we wanted to kind of write something that was meaningful, but not necessarily be a ballad. So with that song, I wrote the chord structure for it, and I had some lyric ideas, and I go, Sniper, I have the song, but it's too mellow. You know, it's too pop. And we dropped all the tunings down and played the song in drop D, and it took on this whole other sound, this whole other vibration. I'm like, this is so cool. The way that it's turning out, and the way that song probably means the most to me, because it's so real, and it really is about the fans and the people that had come into our lives at that time.
Speaking of fans, I read a story where you gave a young girl in the audience your bass.
Yeah.
Totally sort of, I take it was probably like spur of the moment type thing.
Yeah, I love it when we look out in the audience, you know, we see the wild animals, we see the people that came to party, but we also see that people bring their kids to the shows, and I think that's so cool to be able to show your kids that there's this whole world going on, this whole world of rock and roll, this whole creative thing, you be as unique and an individual as you want. You aren't stuck in this cookie cutter thing. So when I see that, it fires me up, and I want to talk to the kids and talk to the people and be like, look, you're just like us. We're no different. We are the same. We all are rock and roll fans. And here, take my guitar. This hopefully will be a point that you remember for the rest of your life, or spur you in the right direction of doing something creative, and saying that, you know, you don't have to do what everybody else does. You can be your own unique individual person, and the world's going to love you for it.
Very cool. Very cool. She must have been absolutely blown away.
Oh, the smiles it's what like keeps you up at night. You know, you go, man, we did all this. We traveled 3,000 miles, whatever, and haven't eaten, but you stand in front of that and see the smiles on their faces, and it makes everything worth it. All the troubles that we went through, missing home, missing our loved ones, seeing that reaction, just it keeps you going.
That's cool. Long Gone. This one kind of caught me off guard a little bit. It's almost bluesy, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was another one that Sniper wrote. He wrote the lyrics for it and wrote the guitar parts for it. And so my job was to kind of figure out his interpretation of the song and create a melody and create something that would match with the rest of the record, with the rest of the songs on the record. And I thought it was my least favorite song when we went in. Going in, it was really difficult for me to write and really difficult for me to sing. And then when we finally heard the full playback on the big PA, I was like, this is great. It blew my mind that it was our song. Like, I didn't even realize. I'm like, man, this is so good. How can this be us? It's so different and so cool. Yeah. A very Van Halen, influence song. Mm. So with Long Gone, and I hear from so many people that they love that song as well.
Yeah.
And with Sniper writing the lyrics, it kind of came from a really personal place in his life that was very accessible to anybody else that was kind of going through a similar situation.
Yeah, cool. We're down to my favorite track on the album, The Trick. I love the song, love the lyric. Tell Sniper I love the solo.
Yeah.
I got to hear the story about The Trick.
This is a great story, a beautiful story. This was maybe one of the first songs I'd written for the record. And what I set out to do was write a song exactly in the vein of what we had done on the first record with Memphis Mile. I wanted another boogie woogie, rockabilly, Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis style song. And with The Trick, that was it. I was like, cool, we got this. I'm gonna make the lyrics super easy. Very, sing. You almost know the song immediately after you hear it once. Okay, cool, I know the song. The lyrics were inspired from we played in Kansas City, and we played with a band called Wick and the Tricks. Okay, that was the name of this band. And the lead singer would come out, and he was flamboyant and over the top and very gay. And I was like, this is cool. This band matches with us really well. But I'm going to tell you that you can come out and be flamboyant, but you're not going to match the Midnight Devils. There's no way. We're going to take this to a whole nother level. And so one night during their set, he brings everybody up on stage, and he starts making out with me on stage. And I was like, in front of everybody. So I'm making out with the lead singer of Wick and the Tricks, a dude. And Jimmy's just rolling in the floor laughing. He's like, what do you, I go, I can't make out with this guy. He goes, what, are you scared? Are you too scared to make out with him? And I'm like, you know what? I'm not. For the show, let's do it. And I realized, at that point, I'm not really into making out with guys, but for the show aspect, I thought it was great. People were going crazy. And it gave us this song, this beautiful inspiration of hanging out in Kansas City, partying with our friends, playing this big rock and roll show with Wick and the Tricks.
That's awesome. Great story.
You got a lot of information on that one.
Yeah. you have large ones, Sam. You have large ones,
Making out with dudes, yeah.
More props to you,
I realized at that moment I wasn't gay.
The last track I got to ask you about too is your cover. Of course, being up here where I am in Vermont, we're real close to Canada. Loverboy, from Canada was one of our bands I grew up with. And the minute I heard you cover Working for the Weekend, I was like, holy shit. And I remember posting on my page, my buddy John down in Florida immediately commented on it because he knew. And you came on and commented, which we thought was really cool. How did you guys land on Working for the Weekend?
Cool, very cool story. So we bring the 10 tracks to Chip in Blue Island to his house. Have the tracks ready to go. We're sitting there on his velvet couch. He's got this joint that it's the longest joint I've ever seen. Chip smoking this joint, and he goes, all right, I like the tracks, but you need one cover. We're going to kick off we're going to kick off the album. First single, first video, the record label wants a cover. So I'm going to need you guys to come back tomorrow with a cover. And I was like, what are we going to do? Like, we don't have any. We had 10 songs worked up, and now we got to figure out a cover by tomorrow. And so we're like thinking. We're like, what are we going to do? I wanted to do Your Love by The Outfield. I thought that would have been a really, really fun song to do. And we're driving around Chicago. We can't figure out what to do. We stop at the hot dog stand, and on our radio on the van, Turn Me Loose, I believe, came on. And Sniper tells the story differently. Turn Me Loose comes on, and we're like, oh, great song. We love this song. Sniper's like, how about we do Working for the Weekend? And I was like, oh, that's so smart. Such a great idea. And it just happened like that. And so over the next 12 hours, we learned the song, brought it to Chip, and Chip loved the idea. So we have Working for the Weekend, and it kind of went with this character that we have in the band, who's kind of like our Eddie, our mascot. Is my cousin. We call him the Pink Bastard. He's this devil character that comes out completely painted pink and throws pink $1 bills or $69 bills, excuse me, pink $69 bills all over the crowd. It's so funny. It's so cool. And it's unlike anything anybody has ever done. And it just worked with the Pink Bastard, with Working for the Weekend. I could see where we were going with the video already. Everything just kind of fell into place with that song.
That's awesome. That's all great tune. Like I said, the minute I heard it, I loved it. And you know, anybody who knew Loverboy around me and stuff, they loved it too. So
yeah,
very, very
and
cool.
it really is like a nod to classic rock fans. I grew up listening to FM radio so much. It was such a big influence on my life. And Loverboy is just, you know, one of those bands that was everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I saw them. Well, I saw them back in '86 with the Hooters opening up. Do you remember the Hooters?
Hey, yeah, the opening of a Hooters. Loverboy's playing the open. That's awesome.
Yeah, Hooters and Loverboy. They were excellent. So I remember the thing I remember the most about that night was the Hooters did a really cool cover of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Oh,
which was and I'll tell you, the tune of the night for them was All You Zombies.
Okay.
That was a brilliant stuff. But Loverboy came out and just blew everybody.
Yeah, we're playing with them. They're at the Rock Island Festival, so I'm hoping that we get a chance to talk to them, or at least show them our cover of their song.
Loverboy?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that'll be cool.
They're playing I think the night after we're gonna be there, but I think we're still gonna be hanging out.
Nice. Awesome. Let's see. Getting back to other stuff, you mentioned like vinyls coming out and stuff like that. So we want to give out the website, www.themidnightdevils.com. You still got hoodies? You were peddling hoodies here a little while ago.
Very few hoodies left. So we ordered a ton of them, and they shipped like crazy. They turned out so well. Zip Up hoodies. Our boy Keith and Chris in Ohio really put out a quality hoodie, and that's like the biggest thing is us having cool images and cool merchandise for people that want to buy it. And I really think like we put pride into how good our merch comes out, and these hoodies are just spectacular. They're going to go along with the vinyl release in February. Yeah, it's just it's cool. It's exciting. I've been to the post office. I spent more time at the post office this week than I'd like to admit.
Well, speaking of that, you just led me right to my next question. I interviewed a guy from up here in New Hampshire. His name's Dan Robinson. He's got a killer doom band named Shroud of Bereavement. And he told me some stories about mailing stuff out, going to the post office and waiting in line, and then having a woman, you know, behind him kind of cussing him out because he was taking so long. And do you have any of those tales?
Everyone. It's like we were standing there just waiting, and I'm like, I got to be back for this interview at 3:00, but I got 20 packages I gotta send. I spent half my life in the line at the post office, but they're at the post office here in Nebraska. They know me, you know, they know it's the long-haired guy coming in, and we always got stories to tell. And they're like, "Where are you shipping off today? Where's it headed to?" So the girls behind the counter always know me. They're ready. They try and get me in and out as fast as possible. So they're really cool, and they get what we're doing.
Yeah.
No bad incidences yet.
Do you ever go in full-on stage makeup and appearance to mail stuff out?
I haven't yet, but they would love that. They would just die. It would stop to hold the mail, for lack of a better term. the freaks have shown up, but it's right in downtown Lincoln, and to have a glam rocker walking around like that would might end the city. I don't know. In the middle of the day.
Yeah, definitely, like at noontime, you know.
In Nebraska, they don't see stuff like that in Nebraska.
The other thing I noticed about this, I don't know if this was designed or not. The album is like 45 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, if you remember back in the day, to put an album on tape, you had those TDK SA90s. You only had 45 minutes and a little bit of runoff time there.
Yeah.
Was that timed on purpose or just coincidence?
It wasn't. It was coincidence, but I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
We for most of it, we just didn't want. We knew we could make long songs, and we were trying to make sure that everything wasn't super lengthy. Everything was within the 3 to 4 minute range. You know, you're always trying to think like, okay, they tell you, you know, if you want your single to be 3.5 minutes long, it's the old adage, old radio.
Right.
3.5 minutes long, or else it won't get played on the radio.
There was one other question I had. Where am I? Oh, okay. I was going to talk about touring. You got this Winter Wonder Glam tour. You're going out with Enough's Enough. And then in May, you hook up with Loudness through May and June.
That's the big one for us. And we've actually been on this Loudness tour for the last 3 years. And there's been so much behind the scenes of them almost making it to the United States, COVID happening, then they couldn't get passports and visas, and it's finally going to happen. Like, I actually have faith that this tour is going to happen. I didn't realize how big of a deal it actually was going to be until Pavement made the press release on the Loudness tour, and we just got bombarded. Our fans went crazy. Everybody everywhere was going crazy, and I think this tour is going to be something that everybody's going to be looking forward to this summer. And for us to be on it, we didn't know if we were going to take it, and then we took it, and I'm so happy that we did, because I think it's going to put us in front of a great audience. We haven't done any shows in the United States now for almost 6 months, so I think this is really going to be a breakout year and put us in front of the people that we need to be put in front of.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are just legends. You know, I told you in our last interview, I saw them back in '87 open up for AC/DC on the Who Made Who tour.
Yeah, and that's why everybody they go, oh, we saw them open for Motley Crue, we saw them open for AC/DC. People love Loudness, and for us to be on it is such a thrill and an honor, because we're starting to get the traction and the mileage that from coming from all these tours, and the people coming out to see the shows are excited to see us, not just Loudness. Like, it's a bonus. We're a bonus on the tour, and that is a cool feeling. Probably one of the first times that's happened.
Absolutely. Sam, before I wind things up with my silly questions, you know these are coming.
All right.
Was there anything that we didn't touch on? Any topic we didn't get in? Anybody we didn't get a mention on before we wrap things up here?
No, I think we talked to everybody. We've had some amazing people in our corner. Amazing artists, graphic designers, people that have backed us, our booking agent, our label, our management. Everybody's just been so cool and so supportive of the Midnight Devils and where this band is going, that if I didn't thank all of those people, you know, I would feel bad. So to everybody out there that's been in our corner helping us, it really means the world to us.
Very cool. All right, silly questions.
I'm ready.
Let's say you're going into downtown Lincoln, you got some packages, you're going to go into the post office, you open the door. What would be your walk-up music as you walk in the door?
Okay, do I have makeup on or no makeup on?
Whatever you want to be. You're in full on stage regalia.
Okay, so this is really good. I got a fantastic answer. This is what I do. The walk-up music. The smoke rolls in as the door opens. Smoke rolls in, right? The disco balls start going off. What's playing? It's the YMCA by the Village. Young man, lift yourself off the ground. I said, young man. And then the whole post office starts doing the YMCA. Everybody's having a blast. It's perfect.
There you go. Okay. All right.
And not gay at all.
No. You wouldn't have to make out with anybody.
It's a little gay, yeah. It's all right though.
All right. Now, you mentioned you don't really do ballads. Let's say you're going to do a cover of Close My Eyes Forever. You're Ozzy. Who would you pick to be your female partner?
Oh, that's really good. See, I feel like I should have even funnier. Funnier. Okay, hold on. Let me think here. I'm bad with names. As I was saying, I could name off some girls that would be great for it, but that wouldn't do it justice.
Yeah.
You'd have to. I think it would be funny. The funniest thing would be if you did it with like a drag queen, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So if, for lack of a better term, the most famous drag queen, RuPaul.
All right. There you go.
How brilliant would that be?
That would be brilliant. That would be
Don't Close
great.
My Eyes Forever, the Midnight Devils featuring RuPaul.
Well, that'd be fabulous.
Really, everybody would laugh. They'd get it. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, that makes total sense."
All right.
Instead of taking it seriously, I go the other way.
Exactly. I mean, if they're going to be silly questions, you're going to give silly answers, right? Let's go. Favorite cartoon character.
My favorite cartoon character. Does Kiss count?
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Those, I think Kiss would be my favorite all time. I mean, I know they didn't really have cartoons, but I really think that a lot of what we do is inspired directly from Kiss and the grandiose, always thinking kind of outside of the box and writing these stories and these cool things came because we saw Kiss do it. We go, oh man, if Kiss can do it, they've created this whole other universe of their cartoon selves. And I love that. I love the power that can bring to a story.
Very cool.
Or Scooby-Doo.
All right. First car you bought with your own money.
Cool question. The first car that I owned was a 59 Ford station wagon, 2-door station wagon.
Wow.
And I bought that. My dad, I grew up, in Nebraska. My dad was a car guy. My uncle was a car guy. They all were these classic car guys. So it was just kind of natural that I'd find a car that could also hold band equipment. So I remember the first gig I ever had, of course, since I had the station wagon, I had to haul the equipment. We played the gig. It was terrible. And we were driving out of the chick's house that we had just played at. And I took a corner and the bass amp fell over and cracked like the big glass window in the station wagon. And my dad was so mad. And little did he know that 20 some years later, I'd still be driving around hauling band gear in my vehicle.
Truth.
He's like, if this was a premonition of what was coming down the line.
Oh,
he thought it was just a phase.
Favorite toy growing up as a child?
My favorite toy, I was really big into action figures like X-Men. X-Men was really big when I was a kid. So like Saturday morning cartoons, the Uncanny X-Men. So I had all the toys. Star Wars had just come out, like the revisited Star Wars. So I had all the Star Wars toys, all the Ninja Turtles, all the X-Men. I was really big into action figures. So that was kind of my thing. And just recently, somebody actually made a Sam Spade full, like a 2-scale model action figure with the base, with all my tattoos. It was really one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Very big honor.
That's awesome. That is awesome. What is your most cherished possession? Or do you have a most cherished possession? If you
have a ton.
What's that?
I have a ton. I collect a lot of everything that kind of has to do with rock and roll, with music, with the bands that I love. I keep and I collect. So especially like all the Midnight Devils stuff. I try and keep one of everything. It's kind of like a Gene Simmons thing, but
Sure.
But looking back, 6 years later, I see all the stuff from like our first shows, the flyers from our first shows. So I have all of that stuff still kind of collected, and I think that to me brings back so many great memories. More than like signed posters by Kiss or by Ghost or anything like that. I think really having those flyers and stuff from our first shows is my favorite thing.
Cool. I can't wait to hear your answer for this. Now, next year is an election year. If you were going to run for president, what would be your campaign slogan?
My campaign slogan.
Never beg for it?
Never beg for it. What was my... I go, make sure you check out our album, Never Beg for It. The advice is free, but everything else is going to cost you.
There you go.
That's it. The advice is free, but everything else is going to cost you.
Very cool. Oh, God, I love it. I knew that was going to be a good one. Favorite topping for your pizza?
Favorite topping is good. I love pizza. We're going to eat pizza every night of the tour, and I never get sick of it. So my favorite topping is the weird one. The very Nebraska thing, cream cheese.
Really?
Yes, it's a very big Nebraska thing, pepperoni cream cheese.
Huh. I've never had cream cheese with pepperoni on a pizza. I'll have to try that.
Yeah, I don't even know if they make it anywhere outside of Nebraska. It's just such a strange thing.
All right. If you could interview anyone, who would you like to interview?
Very good question. I would love to sit down with like David Lee Roth, I think. That would be the guy. I think it would be so much fun, and just to let him go off, just to hear him talk, to be in the room with him while he talks, I think would be the coolest thing ever. Yeah,
smart man. Have you read his book?
I haven't. I really need to read it. I heard it's just brilliant.
It is. It's really, really good. Let's see.
I do think he's one of the greatest frontmen out there. You know, between him and Paul Stanley, like those are my guys. And I don't think there's enough lead singers that kind of give that show, especially at our level. So we kind of have that going for us.
From what I have read, you know, he's got the charisma of the front man, you know, a la himself or Paul Stanley, but he's also got the mind of the businessman, you know, a la Gene Simmons, is what I've heard and read. So,
yep.
Let's see. Tonight, college football playoff finale. You got Georgia or TCU?
Who's got the better mascot?
Georgia's got the bulldog. TCU, I think, is the horned frog, isn't it?
You're always going with the horned frog, I think. TCU. Where's TCU from? Where's that at?
Texas Christian University.
Texas Christian. All right. Yeah. See, I was a collegiate athlete too here in Nebraska. I was on the Husker track and field team for 3 years.
Right. You were a hammer thrower.
I was a hammer thrower. Very cool. I'm glad I did it. I was terrible at it, but it was the proudest moment my dad ever had. His son was a Nebraska Cornhusker for 3 years.
Yeah. And as I told you in our last interview, I've been a Husker fan since I was a kid, you know.
It really gave me an appreciation for it. And I love it. I love being from Nebraska, and I'm very proud to be from the state. Everybody's like, why are you from? Well, you know, what's in Nebraska? Corn and cows. But I grew up in a city, but being a Cornhusker fan, it's a cool thing. It's kind of like this exclusive club that only, you know, people from Nebraska, they understand it.
And to walk onto that campus and be at that level, I mean, you said you were terrible at it. You had to be pretty damn good to get recruited by Nebraska as a hammer thrower. I mean, they're not going to take anybody that sucks.
Right. And I did it, and I competed. We did it great. But the thing is that they could hire, or they could recruit guys from out of the country that have been doing it their whole lives. So I was good. I could compete, but I couldn't compete with the guys from overseas because they were really good doing it their whole lives.
Those guys take it to a whole other level.
I still have some of the gear, some of my Nebraska Cornhusker athletic gear, and it's really a cool thing. And taking people down there to show them, like, hey, this is where we train. You know, we can walk right on the field and be a part of this. Yeah. It's history. It is cool.
Do you go back much for any type of like alumni events?
No, none at all. I kind of do it on my own, just because I felt like I didn't really get along with, because I was on a different wavelength. I was like, okay, we're doing the band and we're doing athletics and we're trying to get through college, and I was still drinking at the time, so I didn't really get along with all the normal athletes and everything like that. I was more interested in hanging out with the dirty punk rock kids, but now I can go back and really appreciate it and take my loved ones back there and show them a kind of a little piece of history of what it used to be like.
Absolutely. It's something to hang your hat on and be proud of, I think, you know. So last question, and we'll get back to a little bit sort of a seriousness question. Say there's a young person comes up to you and says, Sam, you know, I really want to start a rock and roll band. I want to be a rock and roll star. I want to get out there. This is what I want to do with my life. You know, what advice would you give them?
My advice is very simple, is that nobody's going to give you anything for free. Nobody's just going to go out and give you this job and give you album sales and give you anything. You're going to have to work at it and struggle at it. It's much like anything else. You do it because you love it and because this is what you do, for no other reason. We'll get to see the world, but we're going to have to go through hell to do it. As long as you're okay with that, as long as you're okay with giving up everything, then let's do it. Make sure that you have something creative, something that's energy and means something. And there's really no stopping you. If you believe in it, you can make the crowd believe in it as well.
Absolutely. Good advice. Sam, just thanks again for your time. I want to give out the website, www.themidnightdevils.com. to check out all the merch, and you know, if you want a hoodie, you want to check for the vinyl bundles, that's the place to go, correct?
Yep, we have everything there, and we're still a very DIY. We ship everything from right here in my apartment to everywhere, everybody around the world. So it's still like I love doing it. I love seeing the orders come in from all of our friends, no matter where they're at. And, you know, going to the post office, while it sucks, I know that we're doing something right, and I'll make that trip every day of the week.
Yeah, the day you stop going is the day, you know, it stops, you know?
Exactly. So it's always like, no, I don't complain about it. I complain that I got to wait in line, but it is really cool. So anything that ordered goes directly to supporting the tour, to putting gas in the tank of our bus, to getting the guys fed. So it's not like we're out here just killing it with money. We're really reinvesting and putting everything that we make back into the band to keep this thing going.
Excellent. Where's the most far-flung place you've mailed anything to?
It's weird places overseas. Not weird, but where was it? I've made it was like Eastern Europe,
Wow.
like way deep Eastern Europe. I can't even remember. I was mailing it. There's like some these glam punk rockers in Eastern Europe were really digging on the Midnight Devils, and they play all the songs that like as a DJ set, you know, so all the kids could go dance to. So I was mailing them CDs. Excellent.
That's cool. Best of luck on the tour with Enough's Enough. Enjoy the sunshine down there in Florida, you know, and then come back and get ready to hit it with loudness. May all your travels be safe, all your shows sold out, Sam.
Hey, I appreciate it, Lance, so much, and it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely. Hope we get to talk again soon.
Absolutely. We'll do it right when we come back.
Sounds good. Take care, my friend.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.